giving thanks to God Almighty. I first would like to begin today by apologizing because when a mistake is made, we should apologize. So I want to begin today by apologizing to the late Walter Brown's family. And the reason why I apologize to his family at the press conference on Friday, when I talked about we had sent a letter to the deputy premier, we said it was Walter Brown instead of Walter Ruben. So I sincerely want to apologize to Walter Brown's family and also apologize to the deputy premier for the error. The BIU, as an organization, in October of this year, would have 75 years of representing organized labor and, by extension, the people of Bermuda. So let me just begin with a quote. With all their faults, trade unions have done more for humanity than any other organization of man that has ever existed. They have done more. They have done more for decency, for honesty, for education, for the betterment of the race, for the development of the character in man than any other organization of man. This is from a lawyer, a U.S. lawyer in the United States of America. So in a minute, you're going to hear some words from a different lawyer who was yesterday in court, and we'll get to that in a minute. Court on a Sunday. Okay, so the PLP and the BIU forefathers must be turned over in their graves due to the impasse between the PLP government, which was created out of labor.
Yes, right.
How did we get here today?
Talk about it.
How did we get here today? And brothers and sisters, this is real. If you think this is all make-believe, this is an organized attack on labor.
Yes, right.
It is an organized attack on labor. When you hear the words, and these words were given to the premier, and the letter that was given to him on the 19th of August, 2019, with the current decertification process in Section 57, cancellation, it is truly a dark day for industrial relations in Bermuda.
Yes.
So when we think about that in its context, and we go back to how we got here today, it's about accountability.
Yes.
If you want to hold the BIU president accountable, that's fine. But you can't just hold the BIU president accountable and hold the BIU accountable without holding everybody else accountable that needs to be held accountable. So how did we get here today? Just a little snapshot. On December 10th, 2020, there was an urgent press conference between the BPSU and the BIU. Why? Because the Minister of Labor was taking a bill to the House of Assembly on Friday, December the 11th, without getting back to the BIU and the BPSU as he promised before the bill went to the House. So we're going to figure out why all of a sudden it appears like everybody's forgot about that issue, and now everything is front and center for today. Just think for a minute, brothers and sisters. Let's just go back to 6 years ago, roughly about 6 years ago, probably March or February of 2015, when we got the infamous letter from the Honorable Bob Richards. We threatened to take the government workers' pay because if he didn't get his extension on 30 days, that was real. So it's kind of interesting now that we find ourselves in this space where the BIU and the BPSU have a joint press conference on December 10th. This bill is going to the House tomorrow. It's not going to union support because the minister has failed to get back to the union on this matter. And he promised to get back to us before the bill went to the House. If this was the UBP government back in the day, if this was the PL, the OBA government back in the day, we'd be protesting in the streets. So why? This unblind loyalty to the PLP, we can't hold them accountable? I don't think so. Think about this for a moment. The Minister of Labor, a former trade unionist, agreed to get back to the BPSU and the BIU and failed to get back to us. Thanks for the correction. A trade union president. And think about it. 11 versus 12 ministers, cabinet ministers. So the other 11 cabinet ministers now, along with the majority in the backbench, along with the PLP party, is now just saying, well, just forget about that. That didn't happen. It did? Really? So it's almost like, okay, we started at the beginning, but we're going to discount that and just start in the middle and go to the end. If you was running a marathon race, and you decided this was a 13-mile race, but you're going to start at mile 6, and then finish at mile 13, and they're going to say, well, wait a minute, did you finish at the start line? No, I just decided that I'll enter the race in the middle. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And no matter how you slice it, the minister and the government's got to be held accountable for what was done on December 11, 2020. So we got a letter from the minister, the deputy premier on Friday, who says to us, so many papers. Really?
Take your time. Take your time.
They'll serve me, and they'll serve me as your leader. That's all good. This is the second paragraph on the letter that was sent on the 27th of August, 2021. It is the government of Bermuda's position that this issue is not a labor dispute, and any action taken by the Great Industrial Union is unlawful pursuant to Section 87 of the Act. Unlawful. The new Consolidation Act of 2021. It's unlawful. So, back step for 2016. Paraphrasing status. Warren the Hill protesting. Was that a labor dispute? No. That's March of 2016.
That's right.
December 2nd, 2016. What happened? Airport. Redevelopment deal. Seniors and others. Pepper spray. Was that a labor dispute? No. But we were protesting.
That's right.
So are we to assume now that because something's not a labor dispute, we're not going to be able to protest?
Come on now, you're talking.
Where does that leave me or leave us with our constitutional right?
That's right.
Under Section 10, freedom of association and to assemble.
That's right.
Where does that leave us? So that's telling us now that whilst the opposition back then, the PLP, was protesting with us on paraphrasing status, was protesting with us on airport deal,
That's right.
now all of a sudden, what we're doing is not going to be lawful.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a little dictatorship to me.
Yeah.
I know how it seems to you, but it sounds like a little dictatorship to me.
Mercy. Come on.
It's very interesting to just try to piece this all together in the respect that the union, after having meetings with our members, decided to put forward a 2-day protest on today and tomorrow. And they see if it to tell us now that if you do that, you're going to be breaking the law. So here's what happens. On Saturday, I am served with papers from the court. On Saturday afternoon at about 1 o'clock, And they expect for us to be in court or a response to an affidavit that was made by this particular employer. They expect to get a response by 4 o'clock that day. No, they were planning Friday night or Saturday morning, and they gave us something at 1 o'clock, and you got to respond by 4 o'clock. All right, ready? Reached out to legal rep, and we had a conversation, legal representation. But that dark day that I spoke about earlier, it's about to get dark.
Yeah.
Verse 1. At 11:15 yesterday morning, we had to appear, meaning the BIU president appeared before the judge. Because an employer was seeking to get an injunction against one of our divisions to stop them from supporting us today. And if you think this is not an attack on organized labor, stop and think about it. On a Sunday. On a Sunday. I'm not making this up, The document's right there in front of me. And the court made a ruling. That those workers cannot be with us today. So they gave that employer an injunction. But remember I mentioned the part about the lawyer? I remember the quote from Clarence Dow, and I tell you that there's a lawyer also involved there in this process. I know some of you don't hardly watch the evening news, so unless it's on social media, you probably don't see it. But on the 24th, on the 24th of August, there was a lawyer on the evening news. Most important to get this right. On Tuesday, August 24th, on the ZBM Nightly News, Mark Deal from the law firm of Marsh, Deal & Meyer Limited explained, reporting for a general strike could potentially have some big ramifications for the BIU because the notice of a strike is unlawful and civil action could be taken against the BIU. He said, I am not saying that this is going to happen, but there are businesses that might feel because of the pandemic, they might decide to take legal action. Now, everyone in the world is that. Everyone on our news, that was on BBC Nightly News. And I played it again yesterday because I want to make sure that if I'm saying something that Mr. Deal said, I want to make sure I get it right. So Mr. Deal's making this statement on the 24th. So yesterday we were in court with an employer, and it was Steve Oil Service, and I'll tell you who it was. Steve Oil Service meant to get an injunction to stop the poor blacks division of BIU from being able to protest with us today. So the law firm that was representing Steve Oil Service yesterday was none other than Marshall Deal and Meyer. Marshall Deal and Myers Limited. And you can guess now who the lawyer was. Mark Deal. So we have Mr. Deal in the ZBM News on the 24th talking about this, what potentially might happen. And then his appearing yesterday on behalf of Stephen Oil Service to the judge to get the injunction. He also agrees with the government's position that this is not a labor dispute. Now, if it's not a labor dispute, then why have we got to serve notice for any kind of action one have? Why?
That's right.
If we're going to go under the Constitution, Rule 10, and say based on what's going on over here, we don't like it, and the people are going to protest. And the last time I checked, the police officer that killed George Floyd in America,
Yes.
and the people in America was protesting, that was on the dispute out. When we had the Black Lives Matter march in the middle, what was that for? That was labor. Once again, so we can't just cherry pick what we think we're going to allow people to support. Now, because it's labor, remember now, we're talking about the BIU's got 75 years of table of representing organized labor. And if you don't believe my next statement, you can ask our former president, Brother Derek Brothers, about this one. That been after us, probably since at this time, and maybe since Dr. Gordon's time. And if you have a chance to look at the history put up from 1946, the legislation, up until 2021, take a look at the paper. Take a look at the flag. That will give you some idea as to what organized labor has had to endure. So when the government speaks about this corn bill and how it's the most proactive piece of legislation that any government has ever done, well, where's the union's involvement in that? You make it sound like it all came from the government. The recommendation concerning labor came from labor. So where's our credit? So this is about self-preservation. So this is all the BIU is for. And I know that the deputy premier put something out on Bermuda again last night, laying out what the government's done this, the government's done that, the government's done the other. Well, and I don't dispute anything that he said about what the government has done. But here's the $64,000 question. When are you really going to do something that's really going to have an impact on what the people need? All right. When are you going to do that? So I'm thankful that you got an unemployment benefit for the people who are unemployed. Well, when are we going to be addressing the needs of the working class people in this country so they have real disposable income? Right. This is very important because if you look at the narrative that the deputy premier put out on Bermuda, trying to lay out what the government has done, and we've still got many more things to do. So what's the time frame? Is it another month? Is it another year? It's another 5 years for the people who really can have some real disposable income so they have a much better quality of life? How much longer are they going to wait for that? How much longer? So they get upset because the BIU president speaks about some real issues like a minimum wage is a joke. Why is it a joke? It's a joke because that don't affect the majority of people in this country. Don't. Why do that for us as opposed to doing a living wage? Then maybe the minimum wage comes out of that. But all they want to do is say, well, I done that. I created a minimum wage. La-di-da. But the people that really need help is all those employees that's making anywhere between $120,000 and less. And it's kind of interesting because the deputy speaks about how businesses are going out of business. Some of them are reopening, some of them are not reopening. Well, you might be able to have that conversation with the general public who don't know enough, who may not be paying attention to what is really happening in Bermuda. Well, you ain't gonna put any water in the BIU's eyes. I can tell you that. Payroll tax has been an impediment since it started. Yes, sir. It came from a hospital levy to payroll tax. So there's small businesses who can't really afford to pay 8% or 10% payroll tax. Have had to pay it. Some of them, when they have to pay it, so they've got to go out of business. Whereas if you'd have gotten rid of it 10 years ago, maybe some of those businesses out there, maybe they wouldn't have closed. You don't know. Yeah. So you can't just paint this brush and say, well, businesses are closing because the economy. Businesses are closing because there's no money circulating in the economy. So think about it. If you had 33,000 people in the workforce, and you're able to put $5,000 more in their pockets by saying no payroll tax, bring down the cost of health insurance, and bring down the cost of living, and you gave them extra $5,000 in their pocket, that's $130 million. $130 million. How much of that is going back into the economy? Half of it? 75% of that? So think about how that lack of disposable income is now impacting Bermuda. That's right. You can't turn a blind eye to that. So in relationship to this whole question now about who's that for? Or How did we get here today? The deputy said yesterday that the BIU changed its position. Yeah, we did. But what's so amazing is that you said the BIU changed its position without giving any reason why we did. Because we tell them why we changed our position. We made it clear. Because in 1998, when the act was passed, it was passed by the United Bermuda Party government, and that's also in this flyer that we put up. In 1998, there was no guaranteed agency shop. The BIU was not guaranteed 50% from a worker in a park unit who was not a BIU member. There was no guarantee in 1998. So in 2021, as of June 1st, now because the guarantee is there, the BIU is saying that if that worker in a bargaining unit contributes 100% to the year, well, we give them a right to vote. But here's the catch to that. Not a catch, but we have to look at the legislation as it relates to section 57.6, a simple majority. So we're not going to give somebody who's not a member, who's working in the bargaining, a right to vote, and they leave section 56.6 that way to say that a simple majority of 51% gets the union up. No, we'll take that up to maybe 75. So the union gets the protection it needs by providing that non-union member who is paying 100% the right to vote. Everything that's fair and reasonable. And for the life of us, in having conversations with the government, and just to repeat, just for those members who may not have heard it, those members who are here, or members of the public who may not have heard it, started off by talking about the forefathers of the BIU and the PLP. So how does the government say they support labor? You ask the labor if you can come to speak to labor. And the premier of the country and the minister of labor come and speak to the BIU General Council for 3 hours. For 3 hours. And they leave that room and the position is still the exact same. And somehow or other, we're supposed to think that this is not a concentrated effort to control labor. We're prepared to change our position, and the government's position remains steadfast. So much so, the Minister of Labor has been on the news on at least a half a dozen occasions, saying that the 1998 Act and the 2021 Act, particularly as relates to this part of decertification, is the exact same. I want you to think about that for a minute. If an act was passed that was against labor in 1998, and a PLP labor government now has a chance to fix that, and you don't fix it. And then you're out there saying, well, I know everybody's complaining about. That's the way it was then. This is the way it is now. What's the problem? But the problem is, why did we have a conversation in 2015, 16, and 17 about amendments together? Unions were involved in that process. So was it a waste of everybody's time? That the government had no intentions whatsoever of changing that part of the act? But interesting, because now history is going to show that while this bill was passed in 1998 by a United Bermuda Party government, in 2021, it now belongs to the PLP. Because they passed it in the House of Assembly on December 11th, and it was passed in the Senate in January of 2021. Now it's a PLP bill, and it belongs to them. So you got a chance to separate yourself from the ABA, from the UBP. But you chose to align yourself with the UBP's legislation and thinking that this is all our fault. We're trying to be fair and reasonable to the country. We asked last week, Wednesday, for us to go back. Donald Council instructed me, go back, write to the government, and tell them we want to come back to the table for dialogue. They sent us a response back, no, not interested. but this is all the union's fault.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So, brothers and sisters, I can tell you that in closing, this is not something that we look forward to, but certainly, if you take the points that were raised earlier in the prayer with Reverend Tweed, and the need for us to agree to disagree, if either party can recognize that they made a mistake, where's the trust for that relationship going forward? Where is it? If I can't trust that you're going to go away and come back to us, when is the next time you're going to do the exact same thing? When? That is very, very important. And the accountability on a PLP labor government should be no different than a United Bermuda Party government or an EBA government. Absolutely. If that is the Minister of Labor, under those two governments, they've got to be held accountable. If that's the same for a PLP government and the labor minister's got to be held accountable, it's got to be held accountable. And you can't just come along talking about you're going to cover things up and not even have a conversation about it. That is morally wrong. Morally wrong. So we do understand that there are maybe members out there and members of the public who might be hesitating to support the protests because of whether it's the pandemic, whether it's because you think that this is about the General President of the BIU. We made it clear. Every conversation that we have here with the executive board and the general counsel, then we come out and we speak. Dr. Gordon, Brother Adi, Brother Derek, myself, all the BIU presidents all operate the exact same way. There's been a target on the president of the BIUs back since we started back in 1946. The same target is there today. So whilst we do understand some of our members who might be sitting on the fence on this issue, and some members of the public who are sitting on the fence, let me just close by giving you a reminder that the BIU's got 75 years, again, as of October, representing organized labor, and by and large, the people of Bermuda. And I want to finish with the quote that I started with, because I want to resonate to those members in the workplace who think that the BIU is going to go wrong. This is an attack on organized labor. We're going to be held accountable as the corn stewards. So we do understand there might be some young people, young brothers and sisters who don't understand. Some older members who don't understand. But I think that when you get a quote like this that says a whole lot about organized labor, and when it's coming from someone in the private sector, you can't just turn a blind eye to it. No, if it was coming from somebody from labor, then you can say, well, this is only dealing because of labor. But this is somebody who, I guess you could Google him. You'll see you like to Google. Google his name and find out how long he is a U.S. attorney practicing law. So the quote just says once again, with all their faults, trade unions have done more for humanity than any other organization or man that ever existed. They have done more for decency, for honesty, for education, for the betterment of the race, for the development of character in man than any other association of men. That's the BIU. We're not perfect, but we've been there for 75 years representing our members' interests and by and large, people of Bermuda. Thank you. Any questions? Questions from the media?
Question.
No, we got the media here. Let's get rid of them, then we can have our conversation.
Good morning. Can you tell me what the status the legal dispute at the moment. You went to a meeting with your lawyers this morning. Can you tell us what the outcome of that meeting was?
Let's just be clear, because when I went this morning to speak to our legal reps, the decision was made yesterday that the let me just make sure I get it right as to who it's coming from. This is an order from the Supreme Court, and it's from Chief Justice Sabir Williams. Yesterday, 29th of August, 2021, it was issued on behalf of Stevedoring Services, who was able to retain an injunction against the Furbert division of the BIU, stopping them from being able to protest today. So they got their injunction. We have leave to appeal. I think we're going to go back on Friday to see whether or not we can convince the Chief Justice or convince the judge otherwise. But basically, that is what the order is from yesterday, and it's based on Section 94 of the Current Trade Union Act.
So does that just apply to marine imports, or?
It applies to Stevedoring Service. No other employer is going to be able to piggyback off this injunction. You want an injunction? Go and get your separate injunction. That's how it works. Don't work that way. This order clearly states it is between Stevedoring Service Limited, the appellant, and number two, the Bermuda Industrial Union, number one, the Bermuda Industrial Union, number two, the Furbert Division as the respondents. That's who it's on behalf of. Not Marine Ports, not Boss, nobody else. It's between those two parties. Any further questions? No further questions? Can we thank the media? You want to ask a question? You might have to come to the mic so everybody can know what the question is.
The question actually is for you, Chris. You can explain to the crowd. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Brooks. I work for the Corporation of Hamilton for 25 years. Speak up, bro. We can't hear you. Okay, my name is Bill Brooks. I work for the Corporation of Hamilton for 25 years. I've been enjoying my job in the Parks Department. My question to Brother Chris is, what will happen? What will happen to the members' benefits concerning everything that we worked for the last 75 years if there's no union? If you could tell the crowd,
Yes.
where will we go? Where will the employers, what will they be able to do with our benefits and stuff like that? Thank you.
That's a good question, Brother Betty. And here's why. Let's just remember what happened in 2000. Prior to 2000, the unorganized had no benchmark for benefits. So if you work for an employer for 20 years, and up until 1999, that employer will come to you on a Friday, today's your last day of work, and they will decide if they want to give you an extra gratia payment of $1 or $1,000 or $10,000. They'll make that decision. If they thought that you was a real nuisance to them, they'll give you nothing. But in 2000, when the Employment Act 2000 was created, and it was created with consultation with the unions to make sure that what they was going to put out there was going to be what they call the minimum standard for the unorganized. And I honestly think that if you look at what would happen to organized labor if you're not going to organize labor anymore, Employment Act becomes the standard.
Yeah, that's right.
So if it's 2 weeks vacation time, if it's 8 days sick, if there's only 26 weeks redundancy pay, all those provisions on the Employment Act are a lot less than what they are in a collective bargaining agreement. A lot less. And more importantly, you don't have a right to representation. So you might decide that even though your job is not organized, you'll come and pay. You can do this. That's fine. You can do that. But if we call the employer on the telephone, they'll say to us, well, Mr. Furbert, we're not organized, so we're going to have to talk to you. And you'll be right. Now, if your matter ends up down in the labor department, you can take somebody to represent you. So we'll be able to go down there. But any day-to-day issues that you got in the workplace, it's on you.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So if you think that you can't just make this stuff up. If organized labor around the world in other jurisdictions like the USA and Canada and the UK over the past 30 or 40 years has gone from 20% or 25% down to 11, 10, 8 to 10%, that's real. It's kind of like stabilized right now. You just simply can't take these for granted.
Absolutely.
Any further questions? No further questions? Well, brothers and sisters, I certainly hope that those members that are here today, and even the ones that are not here, those who were able to listen while, and once again, I want to thank Mr. Glenn Blakeney for providing this live feed to Hut 102. Yeah, thank you. Nice round of applause, man. I can only assume that things are going to get worse before they get better. And the only thing I mean by that is that Steel Rock Services have started getting an injunction. It's most important for us to understand that if this is not a labor dispute, then am I allowed to protest under the Constitution? I think if you go read the Constitution, no, is it incitement if the BIU president or the BIU invites people to come to a protest? First of all, you use your mind to decide whether you want to come to the protest or not. Nobody's got a ball and chain on you or a rope pulling you along until you come on to Union Square. You heard what was going on and you decided that, the BIU, of course, called his senior members in all the 90 central areas. And then we talked about 7 or 21-day notice today as of today for all the areas that are essential services. But if the government is saying, and the employer's lawyer is saying that this is not labor dispute, then we got to give you the notice. You don't need 21-day notice for anything, no. If you want to protest it one day, you should be able to protest it one day. Long as everything is within reason, you should be able to protest. So you might decide to protest one day a week. Instead of 5 days in a row, you might say, you know what? No. We're protesting this week Tuesday, next week Wednesday, following Thursday, Friday. We're protesting. Now, just know that 87, this is what the minister could, and I want to share this with you because I think it's important. 87 clearly states what's that? Oh, I'm sorry, right. Section 87 of the Act. It speaks about okay, listen up. 3, section 87.3 of the Corn Act. A lockout strike or a regular shoulder strike not to be deemed designed to calculate or coerce the government. So, if this is not a strike, and this is a protest under Section 10 of the Constitution, does this mean the same? Does it mean the same? So certainly the governments of the view, based on what the deputy premier said in his letter to us, that is quoting section 87 of the act. Just so that you understand what's happened in Bermuda from time to time, and also what's happening all around the world. There have been the people who decide that that law that you wrote a day ago, a year ago, 10 years ago was bad law, and people are going to protest the bad law. And ultimately, that's their right. If that law was unjust and unfair, under the Bermuda Constitution, you have a right to protest that law and take it all the way to the Privy Council if you have to, and get it fixed. So any final questions for me, class? And just know that, and you would have to make that decision as to whether you want to or don't want to. Some might be concerned that we don't have half the membership here. And I told the General Counsel this last week. Now I don't expect half the membership here. I expect for those people interested to show up. Because history teaches us, look at the BIU history book, Dr. Gordon, got his challenges back in the old days. He did. Why? Human nature. But we always got to do what is right by the people. We always got to do what is right. And that's why when the question is asked about, are the other unions supporting you on this issue? When the BIU gave notice in 1981 for the government employees and for the hospital employees of 21-day strike days, we didn't do it with the understanding that we were going to rely on our sister unions to support us. We never done that. But if your brother or sister union is standing on a right and just cause, then it's no more than right that you support them. Right. Now, whatever you choose to support them is entirely up to you. But we can't just say, well, we're going to have all our members, so we should stand down. Yes, sir. That's not how Dr. Gordon handled issues of the union back in the 40s and the 50s. And respectfully, brothers and sisters, that's not how we should handle it today. We shouldn't. I am doing what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And in this case, the Bermuda government is completely wrong in their position. And I wanna clarify, because I think that I should. How did we get it? How did we get here today? It was because of the minister, the Honorable Jason Haber. That's how we got here today. And I haven't called his name up to now, but I got to call his name because it's because of him as to why we're here today.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Because on December the 9th or December the 8th, he got back to the unions and tell the minister, you can take that bill to the house. Why not support it? And then we wouldn't need to come to his office at 12:30 and 11 to have a meeting with him. So we can try to, once again, cover up his mistake.
Right.
Cover up his mistake. Because that's what it was. A cover up. No, we'll cover up this mistake for me. Why for? I'll take. I'm not the BPS can take that shit, but we'll take ours. It was our fault for having the meeting to the minister and agreed to whatever we agreed 27. I got that. But where's his accountability to? Where's here? Where? Because today, and those of you who listen to what's your boy, Flavor? The minister came on Flavor's talk show about a week ago to try to clarify some issues. And right after he hung up, this lady called in and says, I want the minister to answer one question for me. Did he promise the years that he was going to get back to him before he took the bill to the House of Assembly? Silence.
Yep.
No response back to it. Why? Guilty as charged.
Yep. Yes, sir.
hot. Well, you're gonna make the decision. What's that? I got mine went to the rear. Brothers and sisters, and I know we have some members in the public here, may not be a whole lot, but I certainly also, I didn't earlier, and I want to welcome them, coming here to you in the spirit today. But certainly, it might be the support, and even though they may not be here, no, when I say they may not be here, let me explain what I mean. The times that I've been on Union Corner, the times I've heard people recording talk to us about this issue, the BIU's got about at least 60% support. At least 60%. It could be a little more than that. I don't think it's much less than that. So for every 10 people, 6 people are supporting us and 4 people are not. The other thing you on social media see all these stuff that's going on. You see all that. So you know what I'm saying is correct. So even though people are not physically hurt because, whether they come on the lunch hour or when they come after 5 o'clock, understanding the challenge right now with supporting this issue on a work day.
Hello, Brother Darrell.
Brother who?
Darrell. William Darrell.
So sometimes people wonder, well, what keeps the president of the BIU going? Because I've been here for a few years. So when I got a phone call from one of our seniors, one of our seniors who was an offshore leader, he turned 90 a couple of months ago, 90 years of age. I heard her when I came back from the meeting, he left a voice message for me. Mr. President, can you please give me a call? I support you 100%. 90 years old.
Yeah.
So, what's the person think from the government's perspective? What got to go wrong? I'm unsure that if we have it all wrong, weigh him down. I'm going to call this man, weigh him down to work for Bermuda Bakery.
Right.
If he had it wrong, he said about Chris, look, you guys got this all wrong. Verse 1, you got it wrong. He would have told us. So now, one now got to say, well, okay, the PLP, it's got the government, it's got 30 seats. The party is silent. Think about this for a minute. When I sent that letter to the Premier on the 19th, it was sent to him and copied him, Minister Hill, the party bit, and the chairman of the party. And we heard no response from anyone other than the Premier. And remember now, no disrespect to the World Gazette, but the government likes to talk about stuff leaking to the World Gazette. Stuff leaking to the World Gazette. Well, who leaked the BIU stuff to the World Gazette? Really BIU? So you accused your World Gazette of being this, that against labor, but now you're using the World Gazette. So it looks like the World Gazette and the PLP are aligned on this issue. Because from what I remember, I think the editor a couple of months ago or 6 weeks ago told the PLP to stand firm on its position. And that was in the newspaper. And what's the government doing? The government standing firm. And then you want me to think? You want us to think that this is not a concentrated effort against labor? Gosh, you gotta wake up. I have to wake up and pay attention. Because if you don't, I'm gonna take it little by little, and there you look, it's going.
Right.
Then you wonder what happened. Because we were sleeping at the wheel. Already have one letter for decertification already. Came in May of 2021. But it failed. Why? Because the person that wrote it was not a BIU member. We didn't know they wrote the letter to the labor department turned it down. Why did you not inform labor that you got a letter from whoever it was? Mr. Furbert, Mr. Burgess, we got a letter from this individual who's asking for the union to be decertified. So they sent us the letter that they sent him telling that he didn't meet the criteria, so it's not going to be entertained. Now, that's the beginning. So think about that. That's somebody who thought it's going to be smarter than the average children and try to get rid of organized labor in DHL. Who's going to be next? And if you all think that this is not, there's not some other underlying issue going on with somebody else who's, and I'm saying somebody else who's forcing the government, that fair and reasonable amendment that we asked for is fair and reasonable. No one can convince us different. That amendment is fair and reasonable under the circumstances. But it can't go. Why? Because they made up their mind that the BIU is not going to dictate to them the terms and conditions. Well, in negotiations, isn't about give and take. So they're coming to take everything without even compromising. That's what this is. Every correspondent that they hear, the government's position remains the same. We are not going to amend the legislation. Huh? No pressure. No pressure. So, are we prepared to take a little stroll?
Yes.
Let's go.
Hands up. Hands up. If you're prepared to take a little stroll.
We need to go see our duck brothers. That's what we're going to go see.
All right, good. What I will ask, listen up. Listen up. If you're marching, if you didn't see the press release or the press statement, if you're marching, you got to wear your mask.
Yeah.
Please. That's all I'm asking. That's the only request. So I'm going to ask the general council members to assist with the marching and the march to make sure people are orderly, to make sure somebody's got the mask on. And no, I'm not sure if this works because for in the open outdoors. No, hold on a second. Wait a minute. So instead of us being spread out over 100 yards, maybe we can spread out over 500 yards. And people can be social distance. So we can have like maybe 5 people on the road. And then 6 feet further, another 5 people. And 6 feet further, another 5 people. So we're all that far apart so we can have our masks on. So as long as we can get the general council numbers to maintain that, then we might, because we're in the open outdoors, we might be able to be okay. Yeah, we're good. So, all right, let me get to general council members, organize all of that, so we can get we're going to enter leave at 10:15. It's 10 o'clock right now. We're going out the gate, up the hill to Bermuda Motors, down the hill, straight down to Front Street, and going by the docks. And we're going to the cabinet grounds.